If your life has looked like this lately, you are exhausted because you are always doing something, you are working on yourself, you are constantly planning, learning, optimizing, but your actual reality hasn't moved very much. Then I want to say something that might cut a little deeper than you just need a better system. It's not that you are not capable. It's not that you are not disciplined. It's not that you haven't found the right strategy yet. The real problem is usually this: you don't feel safe inside. And when your nervous system doesn't feel safe, it quietly changes your entire life strategy. It stops prioritizing what will create the most value and switches to what will keep me from feeling judged, abandoned, or exposed. The result? You stay very, very busy, but nothing truly closes. The project never quite launches. The offer never quite gets priced. The video never quite gets published. The conversation never quite happens. Each time you're about to cross a real threshold, you pull yourself back. In this video, I want to walk you through first, what inner safety actually is. Second, how it silently shapes your decisions and your results. 3. A few real-world examples of people whose success is built on inner safety. 4. My own story of losing inner safety as a founder. And 5. The most common behaviors you will see when inner safety is missing. And most importantly, how to rebuild inner safety in midlife in a practical way. Before we go any further, I want you to know something. This video is not just a theory, and it's not something you're supposed to understand and move on. At the end of this video, I will invite you into a 3-day inner safety practice that we are running inside Circle Community. It's gentle, it's practical, and it is designed for people who are exhausted from trying to fix themselves. If you've been stuck in the same patterns for years, this is where we start changing that safely. Inner safety as an operating system. Let's start by redefining inner safety. Most people think inner safety equals I feel calm and confident. That is not it. Inner safety is not a mood. It's your underlying operating system. It answers questions like, am I allowed to exist if I fail? Am I gonna be abandoned if I'm not impressive? Does my judgment have value? Can I be seen and still be safe? When your inner answer to those questions is no, your brain goes into survival logic. It doesn't care about your 5-year plan. It cares about not being hurt. So you might still look extremely hardworking, like you take all the courses, you consume content about success, you make beautiful plans and systems. But when it's time to take the one action that would actually make you visible and vulnerable, you pause, pivot, or disappear. If you zoom out, your life starts to look like a computer stuck in a restart loop. Just as something is about to become real, your system goes like, too risky, pull the plug. And you find yourself back at square one, such as another new plan, new project, new idea. Same pattern. That's why I say inner safety is one of the most expensive invisible variables in your life. It determines how you make decisions, how long you stick with those decisions, whether you can tolerate being wrong for a while, and how much reality you are actually willing to face. Your decision-making system determines your life trajectory. Inner safety is the power supply for that system. No safety leads to the system flickers on and off. Enough safety leads to the system stays online and can compound. 段永平, safety before rationality and passion. Let me start with someone who articulated this very precisely. The billionaire 段永平. He is the founder behind the BBK ecosystem, the roots of Oppo and Vivo, and a long-term value investor often compared to Warren Buffett. When people ask him about the tips of raising kids, they expect business-style advice such as, develop their IQ, send them to the best schools, cultivate grit and work ethic. Instead, he said, the most important thing parents can do is increase a child's sense of safety and avoid anything that reduces it, such as hitting, yelling, and shaming. He added, when you scold a child, you teach them to scold. When you hit a child, you teach them that hitting is acceptable. When you lose control, you teach them that losing control is allowed. And then he said the key line, people who lack safety find it very hard to remain rational. Think about someone who is always braced for disaster. How can they calmly think about 10-year or 20-year decisions? They can't. Their attention is hijacked by the rewards right in front of them or the threat right behind them. That's why we say no safety, no sustained rationality. And here's the hidden part. No safety, no sustained passion either. Real passion requires the patience to move slowly, the willingness to commit to something that won't pay off immediately, the courage to be misunderstood for a very long time. If you don't feel safe, you can't give yourself that permission. Survival anxiety will extinguish passion before it can mature. Now look at at how Duan Yingping's own inner safety was built. He grew up in material scarcity with relocation and hardship, but his parents did not over-control him, did not constantly pressure him, largely let him make his own choices and carry the consequences. He says very simply, my parents didn't really manage me much. That gave me a rare gift. He learned to care more about whether something was right than about whether people would approve. He didn't need grades or praise to feel like a real person. His own judgment became his anchor. Later, you see this in the way he chose his career path, the way he moved to Guangdong to start a business, the way he invests, concentrated, long-term, and low noise. He doesn't chase hype. He doesn't rush to explain himself. He doesn't need to win arguments. From the outside, people say he's calm. Underneath, it's a deep sense of I'm allowed to trust my judgment. I'm allowed to be wrong sometimes. I'm okay even when others don't understand. That's inner safety, turning into rationality and long-term compounding. Jensen Huang, the world is hard, but I'm not afraid. Now, let's jump to a very different story. Jensen Huang, the founder and CEO of NVIDIA. Today, he's one of the richest people on the planet, but I want to focus on where his inner safety came from. Two very simple things his parents did shaped his whole psychology. The first thing was his mother learning with him. When they need to move to the United States and he had to learn English, his mom did not speak English, but every day she sat next to him at the table with a dictionary and a notebook. They struggled through it together. He once said, my mom taught me English and she doesn't even speak English. The content wasn't the point. The message was, I don't know either, but I'm here with you. Difficulty is not danger. We can figure this out. You are not alone. From that, you get his lifelong tone of start first, learn as you go. How hard can it be? That's not arrogance. It's safety. Second, cassette tapes across the ocean. At 9 years old, he was sent along to the US. His parents stayed in Taiwan or Thailand. I couldn't remember the specific location, but the thing is, they were separated for quite a long time. This is where a lot of kids develop a deep insecurity and abandonment wounds. Instead, his parents recorded cassette tapes for him every month. He recorded tapes back and mailed them home. In a pre-internet world, this was not convenient. It was a lot of effort. The psychology effect was, I'm far away, but I haven't been dropped. I'm still remembered. Home still exists. I can leave without losing love. That prevented the I am alone in the world script from forming. Later, when he was washing dishes at Denny's, doing hard, low-status work, he didn't experience it as humiliation. He wasn't trying to prove he was special. He was just solving problems. His worth didn't depend on image. It rested on a stable base of, I'm held, I'm not disposable, I can face hard things. That's exactly what you see when he guides NVIDIA through brutal market cycles and massive industry transitions. He breaks problem down. He doesn't panic. He doesn't perform toughness. He just keeps moving. That's what a high inner safety system looks like in a founder. When you don't need to prove you're somebody, you can finally see reality clearly and act effectively. The next story is about Jiaozi being allowed to be unproductive. The third example is about film director Yang Yu, better known as Jiaozi, who made Ne Zha and Ne Zha 2. Together, those two films did nearly $3 billion in box office. But the most important part of the story to me isn't the success. It's the 3.5 years when, from the outside, he looked like he was doing nothing. He grew up in a family of medical workers. He got into medical school. His safe path was become a pharmacist. But he loved animation. He first broke the safe path by leaving medicine. That alone could have triggered massive family panic. Instead, his parents did not crush him with guilt or shame. They let him try. Then his father passed away. Jiaozi worked at an ad company making commercial animation for a year. Technically useful, but not meaningful to him. So he did something even more radical. He quit, moved home, and worked on one 60-minute short film, which is named Hate the Big Watermelon, for 3 years and 8 months. His real conditions back then was they both living on his mother's pension, which was about 1,000 RMB a month, roughly $140 per month. And the mortgage payment took most of it. They bought cheap food every day, and they didn't even have internet at home. He rarely left a small radius around the house. Every day was 10 hours at his computer in obscurity. This is the point where many parents would snap. Enough! You're wasting your life. We're supporting you for years. Time for you to be a grown-up. His mother did not do that. She kept sending one message to him. It's okay. Focus on this. What you want to do is allowed. She carried the financial pressure and the social shame. She allowed her adult son to be visibly unproductive for years without turning it into moral judgment. That is inner safety delivered in the most costly way. Your worth is not tied to your current output. You are allowed to go all in on something invisible for now. Later, the short film won over 30 awards and pulled him into the film industry. From there, he spent more years on哪吒and then哪吒 2, which exploded in the box office worldwide. But the real leap wasn't just his talent to success. It was one woman's pension and emotional protection to a $3 billion cultural phenomenon. If his mother had said, "You are selfish, you are dragging us down," none of that work would exist. And if you watch哪吒, the theme is obvious. A child who is misunderstood, parents who stand with him instead of giving up on him. It's his own experience of being held translated into a national myth. Again, inner safety leads to freedom of action, which leads to extreme long-term compounding. My own story of inner safety collapse. Now let's come back to something more ordinary, my life. At 30, which was 10 years ago, I left a safe, shiny path, a director-level role at the Disney company in the United States. I joined ByteDance early. I later founded my own company, raised a multi-million-dollar seed round, built a team and a product. From the outside, it looked like courage, ambition, strong woman energy. Inside, my sense of worth was far more fragile than I realized. During a very challenging fundraising period, the company was almost running out of cash and we are near the edge of failing, and I had to lay off a technical team that I deeply value because I spent a long time to build it. It was one of the lowest points in my life. Later, I found out that my father's judgment of that moment was, if you don't have the skills, don't take on the job then. It wasn't a question, it was a verdict. Basically, he said, you are not capable, you chose wrong, you overreached. At that time, I didn't hear it directly. I heard it afterwards from my mother when the crisis had passed and we had actually closed the round successfully. Her intention was actually to encourage me to say, look, you proved him wrong. Good job. Well done. But the effect was the opposite. It shows me that if I truly fail, that's how he sees me. Therefore, I cannot fail. I have to keep winning in order to prove that he's wrong. Otherwise, he might be right that I'm not that capable. I don't have a space to fail. I did raise the money. Objectively, we are back on track. But deep down, something cracked. I didn't feel validated by surviving. I felt judged and denied. And from that moment on, I started to see a pattern in myself. I would keep delaying the launch of the product to avoid potential failure. I kept pivoting instead of finishing. I was overly sensitive to any hint of you are not enough. I need constant reassurance from my partner to feel safe. It looked like perfectionism. It looked like high standards. It was actually my nervous system saying, we're never going back to a place where people can say, hey, you are not qualified for this. My problem wasn't lack of ideas or lack of strategy. It was lack of inner safety. That realization was painful, but simply being aware that I lack inner safety also changed everything. It forced me to accept that my self-worth could not be built on performance anymore. I could not outsource safety to investors, team members, or my parents. I had to build an inner structure where I could trust my own judgment, even when others didn't. Next, I want to show you how lack of inner safety shows up in 10 behaviors. Here are 10 very common behaviors that usually mean safety, not ability, is the real bottleneck. As I go through this, just mentally mark the ones that feel familiar. Behavior number 1, endless preparation. You buy courses, watch videos, read books, fill notebooks, but the actual act, such as publishing, selling, launching, gets delayed again and again. Behavior number 2, perfection as protection. The website, logo, copy, slides that you are working on, they are never quite ready. Perfection isn't about excellence, it's about avoiding judgment. Behavior 3, frequent pivots. The moment something feels like it might fail, you switch ideas or directions. It feels like agility. It's often just an escape from being seen failing. Behaviors number 4, charging triggers a panic response. You can give huge value for free, but the second you have to name a price or send a payment link, you freeze. Behavior number 5, visibility feels dangerous. You have thoughts, skills, insights, but publishing, speaking, or putting your face on camera feels like walking into a firing squad. Behavior number 6, feedback feels like an attack on your existence. One critical comment, one unsubscribe, one no spirals into maybe I'm not good enough at all. Behaviors number 7, you hide in low-level busyness. Your days are full, email, admin, fiddling with tools, while the few scary, high-leverage actions actions stay untouched. Behaviors number 8, you interrupt your own moment at 80 to 90%. Right before lunch, you don't feel ready. Right before finishing, you decide to rework everything. Over time, your life fills with almost finished things. Behavior number 9, you are constantly in a rush. Even when nothing is urgent, you feel internally chased. Slowing down feels like the dangerous moment where self-judgment catches up. Behavior number 10, you use work to silence shame. The moment you stop, you hear you are behind, you're not enough, so you don't stop. Again, none of these mean you are broken. They mean your brain has decided protecting you from shame and judgment is more important than moving you forward. And unless we work at this level of safety, no amount of productivity hacks will fix this. 3 steps to rebuild your inner safety in midlife. So how do you rebuild inner safety now as an adult? Not in theory, in reality. I think of it in 3 steps. Step 1, call out the right problem. Every time you're stuck, ask, is this about skill or safety? If you honestly don't know how to do something, that's a skill problem. Take a course, ask for help, practice. But if you do know how and you still don't do it, it's almost always inner safety issues. Just naming it changes the texture of the moment. From what's wrong with me, why I'm so lazy, to my nervous system thinks this is dangerous. How can I make this feel a little safer? Step number 2, reparent your inner child. Reparenting sounds abstract, but it's actually very simple in practice. It means stop talking to yourself like the harshest adult from your childhood. Start responding to your fear like you would to a child you love. So instead of saying this to yourself, come on, why you're still scared of this? You're pathetic. You try, of course you're scared. Last time you did something like this, you got hurt. But I'm with you now. We'll do this slowly together. You allow yourself to feel afraid, ashamed, and uncertain without adding a second layer that says, and because I feel this, I'm worthless. You can't change your history, but you can change the tone of the voice that runs your life now. That tone, harsh or kind, is part of your safe system. Step number 3, micro actions and micro proof. This is the most important step. Your nervous system will not believe news stories just because they sound nice. It believes evidence, so we rebuild safety through very small acts that send a new signal. I did something scary. I survived. Maybe this space is not as dangerous as I thought. That might look like publishing one imperfect post to 20 followers, charging one client a slightly higher rate, recording and uploading one video where you don't over-edit yourself, saying no once where you usually say yes. Each act is small enough that you won't completely shut down, but big enough that your body notices. After each one, pause and register. I did that. Nothing exploded. I can tolerate this. Over time, these micro-proofs accumulate, and your inner system quietly updates its model of the world. From visibility equals death to visibility equals some discomfort but survivable. That's the moment your life starts to unfreeze. You're not pushing yourself with adrenaline anymore. You are calmly increasing your capacity to act. That's what rebuilding inner safety actually feels like. A 3-day practice to rebuild your inner safety system. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this video, it's this. When you lack inner safety, you don't stop because you're lazy. You stop because your system thinks it's protecting you. Trying harder rarely works. What works is creating new evidence, slowly, gently, and consistently, that you can act and remain safe. You don't need a new productivity hack. You need a new operating system. To help you start this transition, I've designed a 3-day inner safety reset practice inside my Circle community. This isn't another course to study. It's a 3-day guided experience to help you stop the restart loop and teach your body that visibility is no longer a threat. I've opened a 3-day free trial for my premium membership, so you can begin this reset today at 0 cost. By joining, you will get immediate access to my Master Knowledge Vault. Inside, you will find the Inner Safety Dossier, a structured breakdown of the 10 self-sabotage behaviors we discussed earlier, along with the professional inner safety assessment. Instead of guessing why you're stuck, this assessment gives you the actual information on where your nervous system is pulling the plug. You can enter the vault, take the test, and finishing the 3-day practice all within your free trial period. The link is in the description and pinned comment below. You are not broken and you are not behind. You are just ready to feel safe enough to move again. If you are ready to start building the evidence, the door is open.